Hello and welcome to Twisted Britain, a podcast on true crime in Britain with a sprinkling of the weird and the macabre. And your hosts are me, Bob Dale.
And me, Nadine Roll. We're a couple of friends who met in the pub and developed a friendship based on our mutual love of booze, podcasts and pub quizzes. We met in the Settle in Stirling, and that's where we record.
Each week we'll both tell a story of something twisted, one long one and one short one, and we'll decide who goes first.
Based on the flip of a coin.
Which I actually have a coin with me. Yay! How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
I'm alright. We are recording this a couple of weeks in advance, as we normally do.
Yep.
But it's coming out on a rather significant date, isn't it, Miss Royal?
Just a small special day, that would be my birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Yay, I'm 25.
So if everybody can send ridiculous gifts with as much rainbows and unicorns in them for Nadine, that would be lovely.
Oh yeah, I just love that.
Yeah, have you got anything planned?
What, for the birthday?
Oh wait, we're all getting drunk.
Yes, we are. Work gives me my birthday off for free, which is very nice.
Oh, that's very nice of them.
Very nice. So my birthday falls on a Friday, so I'm off on the Friday, and it just so happens it's my rotated weekend off, so I've got a 3-day weekend. Sweet. So yeah, I'm going to have a big party in the Settle-in. Where else?
Where else, indeed.
Where else? So big party in the Settle-in, just going to get drunk.
I might come.
I hope you do.
I'll see how I'm feeling. I might be washing my hair that night. Don't make any jokes.
Rude.
So yeah, we've just put my young son to bed.
Yes, we have. It's been lovely.
And then came to the pub. Obviously. So I have to apologise to you profusely for singing 90s TV tunes to him to put him to bed. But
I mean, if you'd come over and sing the Saved by the Bell theme tune to me so I could go to sleep, I'd be really appreciative.
My favourite is the Captain Planet one, if I'm being honest.
It's very good. It was very good.
How's your research gone this week?
Yeah, it's been good. So my story is one that I actually came across in the news a couple of weeks ago. And I've been just really interested in it since. Interestingly, the kind of finale, if you like, of what I'm going to talk about is going to happen, I think, on my birthday or the day before, I think on the 21st. Ooh. So I'll talk about that when I'm telling it, but it's been really interesting. I've been talking about it a lot.
You'll probably tell me about it when you're drunk as well.
Probably. How's yours gone?
Good. I've broken with my own made-up tradition, and actually gone with something in living memory. So something I actually remember being in the news.
This is surprising.
Something from this century, even. I will almost guarantee you've heard of the story, but it's a good one. So I'll not say too much.
Okay, I'm excited about it though.
So shall we jump in?
Yeah, let's get it done.
Oh, in fact, before we go, just a big shout out to the True Crime Enthusiast for playing our promo recently. Very kind of you, sir. It was very kind words. Very
kind indeed. We're very humbled.
We've both just looped your words on our phone for our ringtone
now. Yeah.
If you haven't checked out the True Crime Enthusiast, why not? And you definitely should. So yeah, you call it.
Okay, I'm going to say heads you go.
Heads it is.
Nice. Okay, I'm excited.
Right, so...
Modern day Bob.
Do you want me to tell you what it is, or do you want me to jump in? Because I've got a kind of wee pretense... like a kind of almost...
Like a pretext?
Yeah, you'll get what it is.
Jump in.
Right, okay, fine. So on the 1st of December 2007, a man walks into a London police station saying he thinks he's a missing person.
Okay.
He says he can't remember what's happened to him in the last 5 years, but the last thing he remembers was being in a canoe.
I am so excited. I love this story. I know already exactly what you're going to talk about, and this is one of the best stories of all time. And I'm saying story again and again.
But for a very good reason.
I'm so excited. I can't believe you're actually going to do this. I've been over this one so many times. My mum have had mass debates and arguments over this and stuff. I love this.
Well, I will ask at the end whose side I fall on, whether it's yours or your mum's. But
okay.
So for anybody that doesn't know the story, this is the story of John Darwin, or the Canoe Man. Absolutely no relation of the great Charles Darwin. So John Darwin was a married man from Hartlepool in County Durham, born in August 1950. He was married to Anne and they had 2 sons together, Mark and Anthony. He'd been a science and maths teacher at Derwentside before he went to work for Barclays Bank and then became a prison officer, which I find an odd career choice, Not an odd career choice that you want to become a prison officer, just an odd career progression.
That is a bit odd. I don't remember him actually being, like, doing that, actually.
So to me, it makes sense, maths, bank, but then the prison set. I don't know. Who knows? You'll find out as we go on that he's not the smartest of men. Anne, his wife, was a receptionist in a doctor's surgery, and they also ran a rental business, and they had several houses and bedsits around County Durham. Through the rental business, they had basically purchased too many properties.
What a shame.
I know, what a first world problem.
I can't say that I've got that problem.
No, I don't either.
Maybe in a game of Monopoly once or twice.
It's the only time I've ever bought too many houses is Monopoly. So they'd run up a massive debt and they were being threatened with bankruptcy. At this point, John came up with his idea to solve all their problems in one swift move. Now, this is, as I go on, although this is a podcast and people can't see me, can you just assume I'm doing air quotes a lot? So this was his great idea. So John Darwin was last seen entering the sea in his canoe at 8 a.m. on Thursday, the 21st of March, 2002. Later that evening, around 9:30, he was reported missing after failing to turn up for a shift at the prison.
Okay.
There was a huge sea search, like a massive scale sea search launched, which included 5 RNLI lifeboats, and the RNLI was the Royal National Lifeboat Institution.
Okay.
And 2 separate Coast Guard rescue teams, so they'd be the guys out with the helicopters.
Okay.
There was also a police fixed wing searching, so I assume just a small plane.
I don't think I've ever heard of that before.
A police fixed wing is what I read, but I like I say, I assume, having watched some of the news footage from the time, there was a police plane flying about.
Okay.
So not like a seaplane or anything, just an actual wee one.
It's pretty cool.
Yep. So yeah, 5 lifeboats, 2 helicopter teams, and a police plane out searching, and they went on searching for 33 hours. And they covered 62 square miles, or for those of you on different shores, 160 square kilometres of coastline and ocean, before the Coast Guard called off the search, saying that if he was still in the sea, the chances of survival were pretty minimal. A reporter from the time on the BBC News said, "This has been one of the most extensive searches of recent years. Why is that so? Well, think about it. One canoeist out in the open sea, no navigational aids, no homing beacons, no radio equipment like a modern trawler. It's literally been like trying to find a drop of water in the ocean."
Blimey. Well, I suppose, yeah, like, how are you meant to find, like, one guy in a canoe in the sea? It is a bit impossible.
Oh yeah, it's a massive search. Like, it's almost like a hit and miss. I know you either find him or you don't. That's kind of obvious, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's either you stumble across him by accident. I mean, I would imagine they'll have done search lines up and down and up and down and up and down, but I mean, the chances are minimal, aren't they?
So
Especially
small.
just one dude in a canoe.
Yeah.
Sea canoeing's not for us, I don't think.
I'm not going to give that one a bash.
Right, cool. So there'd been no sign of Darwin, but they had found his double-ended paddle, and which was found near Seaton the following day, on the 22nd of March. And it was noted, however, that the sea had been very calm the day he went missing.
Oh,
Couple of things there. Well done for not laughing at double-ended.
thank you. I've grown.
Not much. But also, yeah, I should have probably put that in beforehand, that the sea was incredibly calm, but it wasn't like there was a massive storm.
Seems unlikely that one would go missing.
More air quotes.
Oh yeah, that's a point. It's even harder to find somebody in a canoe in the ocean.
When they're not there.
Oh, what?
We'll get back to that. So there had been no signs of Darwin, other than they found his paddle, and then a couple of weeks later, maybe about 6 weeks later in the May, his red canoe named Orca was found in several pieces washed up on the shore, and a yellow waterproof jacket was also spotted. And Darwin confirmed with the police that this was his. That September, the police made fresh appeals to the public to come forward with any information they may have into Darwin's disappearance, and also made appeals in the local paper. There was an inquest held into his death, and he was declared dead by that inquest, stating the date of death as the day he went missing, and a death certificate was issued.
Okay.
Now, as we may have alluded to there, John wasn't in the ocean.
What?
I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Well, so where was he? John had been picked up down the coast a bit from where he'd basically launched his canoe himself. Itself, sorry. Was picked up by Anne and dropped off at a campsite where he spent the first 3 weeks of being missing, living in a tent. He then returned home-ish. I think, right. I can
see
you looking at me.
I know.
Right,
I know where you're going to go with this, and it's one of my most favorite parts of the story, like the home-ish that you've gone with there. I'm not going to rain on your parade and steal one of the best parts of the story and go and blurt it out as much as I want to right now, but I'm so excited because this is ridiculous.
Oh, it's not my favourite part of the story.
It's one of mine.
It's definitely up there. But
it's good,
right,
though.
Okay. So, one of the houses that the Darwins owned in their rental business was directly next door to their house they lived in. And the property next door had been divided into several bedsits. One of the bedsits just so happened to back onto their bedroom. And John came up with another great idea, and he smashed through the back of the wardrobe in the bedroom, through the wall into the bedsit, and used his cupboard to escape into his own tiny Narnia.
Which is just the best thing. Don't insult Narnia, please, because I don't think
I don't think there was any fawns in his room.
Mr. Tumnus?
Mr. Tumnus was just cutting about his room.
There's no Mr. Beaver, that's for sure. Or Mrs. Beaver.
No.
PC. I'm trying to improve. I don't think that going through your wardrobe into the shitty bedsit next door is exactly like going to Narnia.
We're not saying it was a shitty bedsit.
I'm just saying it's no Narnia.
But it's, yeah, is it you turn left at the fur coats and you end up Narnia, turn right at the fur coats and you end up in the bedsit?
That would have been a whole other movie, and the children would have been very disappointed.
Very disappointed. And found a weird man.
Well,
a different weird man. So John spent all day hiding in the bedsit.
Excellent.
While Anne was out at work, and then returned back through the cupboard to stay in his own bed at night. So he lived that way for ages. He would, so basically he'd have to sneak back into her room once the kind of house was shut down for night, if you know what I mean, like the
when
curtains are
everything's
closed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Because especially because his sons.
So Anne was left to deal with two grieving sons, remember. The two of them had no idea, although Anne was in on this. Now, I don't think she was very convinced by it at the beginning, but the two sons had no idea what was going on. To the point where they even conducted a small memorial to their father.
That's just awful.
Yeah, or the March of the following year, to mark the 1 year since his disappearance / date of death. They launched flowers into the water and everything like that. So a year after the incident, and the death certificate issued, of course, what do you need a death certificate for?
Insurance payouts.
Insurance payouts. So a £25,000 was paid to Anne as a lump payout, along with a larger sum of £130,000 to pay off the mortgage of their house. On top of that, his pension was paid out, and other bits and pieces, with a grand total of somewhere around about £250,000 being paid out.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Everyone thought he was dead.
Of course.
Well, everyone but him and Anne.
Well, yeah.
But she collected the money. At one point during that year, John was spotted by one of the other residents that lived in the bedsit, who recognised John Darwin and said, aren't you supposed to be dead?
Amazing.
Which I love as a reaction. Are you not that guy that looks... Do you not own this place, and are you not died in a canoe? He was later interviewed by police who said, when you thought you saw him, why didn't you tell us? And he was like, I just didn't want to get involved.
So British. That's the most British thing ever. It's just like, here's something that I've noticed that's definitely something I should do something about. But you know what? Sounds like a lot of effort and a lot of, like, not my business.
Oh, yeah.
See ya. Are you meant to be dead? Yes, I am. All right. Good luck with that.
Probably worried about them taking his bed set away from him.
Wow. At least he wasn't climbing through his wardrobe into his room.
Yeah, imagine you knock it through in the wrong room.
Oh, sorry there. And still that man probably would have just gone, are you not meant to be dead?
Ooh, oh my ghost.
Fair enough, back to it. See you later.
So the Darwins basically spent most of their time from then on when they were together trying to work out what they were going to do now that they'd gotten out of the bankruptcy that they were going to have a problem with.
Right.
They were kind of sitting pretty with a whole load of money, with the big exception being that everyone thought John was dead.
Yeah.
So in 2004, they set about trying to move abroad. Well, they came up with the idea that they would move abroad.
Pretty good idea if you're meant to be dead.
Yep, get out of the country.
Leave.
So John Darwin managed to apply and obtain a passport, because of course his wouldn't have worked, and he did it using a false identity. The passport was issued in the name of John Jones, and this identity was that of a baby who had died at birth, but was born around about the same time as John.
Okay. Very clever.
Well, he got the idea from the novel Day of the Jackal.
Right.
So that's what happens there, and it's actually quite... Not only Day of the Jackal, I think it's happened in other things, because it's quite a well-known way of doing things.
Yeah, that's like the way to do it.
He just read the novel not long beforehand, and he went, I could do that, and ridiculously, it
He
worked.
did do it, yeah.
So using this passport, the couple managed to travel to Cyprus, with the plan being that they'd have a look for property out there that they could buy, and they just moved out there.
Right.
But they didn't actually find anywhere that particularly they liked or anything, and they came home and returned to the drawing board as such. So over the next few years, there were still some more sightings of John, including one guy a fisherman who claimed to see him fishing on a lake in Cornwall, who said he'd introduced himself as John Williams. Now, I'm going to pick you up on a point that you've said before, and I can't remember if you said it in the podcast or whether it was just us talking about it. If you were going to change your name, you'd keep the same first name. I
think we touched on this. I can't remember who it was, but somebody in one of your stories changed their name, and then he had he had a new wife and stuff. And I was making jokes about, if you're sat watching the telly and your wife's like going, hey, Pete, hey, Pete, until you go, oh shit, that's my real name now. Oh yes, but if you've got the same first name and I'm sat here going Bob, you're gonna go, yeah, no matter what your surname is. Yeah.
So yeah, he seems to have kept the name John on pretty much all of his fake identities.
Okay, well, I think that's clever.
Yeah, okay.
And also, though, it's not like his name was something like outlandish that only he has. His name's John.
Possibly one of the most common names. Yeah,
definitely within Britain at least.
Yeah, probably. Is it not like John Smith is like the most common name? Something like that.
Yeah, that's like what you call like a stranger, isn't it? Or like Jane Doe John Smith.
Yeah, okay, yeah, probably that.
Something like that.
John spent most of his time at home on the internet.
Right.
He'd maybe listened to your podcast from a couple of shows ago and just decided to try Pornhub.
It's the thing to do. It's on the rise.
Well, I mean, not in 2004, I wouldn't imagine, actually. He actually managed to get chatting to some woman in Kansas. Now, I don't think it was like a sexual thing. I think he just decided that with his now hundreds of thousands of pounds he had.
And all that spare time.
He just went and met her.
Okay.
Just went to Kansas and met up with this woman that he'd met on the internet.
I wouldn't be cool with that if I was his wife.
Don't get me started on her, honestly.
I don't. We're going to get into her.
We'll get to there. I haven't done a lot about her because she infuriates me, but I'll give
fair.
I'll give you my opinion at the end. How about that? He also went to Gibraltar and Andalusia, and whilst in Andalusia, he inquired about buying a catamaran. The thought being they would just set sail rather than moving abroad.
Okay.
The one he priced up was £45,000, and he ended up not buying it.
Blimey.
John and his wife eventually decided that they would move and settle down to Panama.
Okay. Now, it's no secret that my geography's shit. Where exactly is Panama?
South America.
Okay. Thanks.
So they would go there and they'd find a place to stay for the rest of their lives. They'd just move out there and eventually... in fact, I'll come back to that.
Okay.
At this point, they had a load of money in the bank and they were trying to sell all the properties off in the UK. And with the payouts from his death and the profits they'd made from the selling the properties, you're looking at about £500,000 in the bank.
Okay. That's
a crazy amount of money.
That's going to get you going.
Oh, yeah, in Panama you'll be fine, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
So they flew out to Panama on the 14th of July, 2006. And they spent some time there looking for a property they liked, and they actually came across one that they really fell in love with, and they decided they wanted to buy it. However, this is where they made their biggest mistake. They had been shown around the apartment by the estate agent, and the estate agent went, "Oh, look, we like to take photos of the people who buy them."
Right.
As a kind of, congratulations, you bought a house.
I'd hate that, but okay.
Yeah, you do it though.
Yeah, you'd be like, all right.
Sometimes you get discounts on things. Like, we got our new front door. We got a discount for letting them take photos of before and after.
Decent.
Yeah. Anyway, that's
it's a beautiful new front door,
Thank you
by
very
the
much.
way, everybody.
Slightly off topic there, but I want, like, it's a kind of thing that people do when they've like bought a big house or a car or whatever.
I suppose, yeah. I think it's like it's a bit of an Americanism, I think. Like, pose outside, like, with your realtor, like, buy their sign with their face on it. Sold.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing.
But, slight issue here, I suppose. You're meant to be dead, John.
Yeah, exactly. We'll come back to that.
I know.
So the purchase all goes through fine, and the following year, within the following year, Anne tells her two sons that she's moving to Panama, telling them it's fun, Catholic, and they speak Spanish.
Whoa, sold.
I don't think that's the Panamanian tagline.
Panamanian. Nice.
I guess she must have spoke Spanish and was Catholic and enjoyed fun.
Imagine if you didn't. Mum's like, "Ooh, it's fun, Catholic. They speak Spanish." You're like, 1, I'm not Catholic. 2, I don't speak Spanish, Mum.
I'm a French Jewish man.
I don't want to go.
Oh no, she wasn't taking the sons with her.
Oh.
No, they're older sons. Sorry, I didn't say that earlier. They're older sons, like moved away from home and everything.
Oh God. Okay.
That's why they didn't notice the dad.
Sneaking through the wardrobe.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So their lie starts to come a bit unraveled at this point.
Okay.
Due to a change in the visa laws in Panama. So to stay there indefinitely and own the property, they had to have their identities formally verified by the UK police. And this was because they were basically seen as investors in Panama.
Right. Okay, right, okay.
By buying property there.
Yeah, that makes sense, I think.
So they had to have their...
That's something I would never even think about.
No, it was, just when I was reading all this, I was like, well, that kind of makes sense if you want to stay there forever.
Yeah, but I wouldn't have ever really thought about that. And I guess neither did they.
Now, there's a bit of an issue with having your identity verified.
Would be a little bit tricky there if your identity wasn't your own.
And you're supposed to be dead.
A little bit hard.
So yeah, the using the identity of the deceased baby is not going to have survived that level of scrutiny. I wouldn't imagine. So John came up with his genius plan, and you can tell how much of a genius plan it was by the amount of exclamation marks I've used in my notes.
I'm going to estimate that's at roughly 20, if not more.
I actually laughed when I wrote all this bit down.
Okay, I'm ready. Hit me.
So his plan was he would travel back to the UK and reassume his real identity.
Of course! It's so simple.
So on the 1st of December 2007, over 5 years after he went out missing in his canoe, John Darwin walked into a London police office and said he thought he was a missing person and he had no memory of the last 5 years. He was able to tell police his name, his date of birth, but he couldn't tell them anything that had happened in the 5 years during the time he was missing.
Excellent. Do you know what the thing is, though? Here's a few issues for you. If you can remember everything up to before that 5 years that you've been missing for, surely you know where your home address is and you would go give that a bash.
Yeah, there's a few flaws in this.
You'd be like, I remember that 5 years ago I was married and I had 2 children and I know where their addresses were before those 5 years, so maybe I'd go there first rather than stumble into a police station and go, help.
I think his theory
I'd probably go to hospital if I was like, whoa, I don't know who the fuck I am. I'm like, go to the hospital. Go to the hospital. Like, I think I've hit my head rather hard. Like,
I think that would probably have been a better starting point, actually. Yeah,
I'd have gone to the hospital.
Yeah, no, good point. I think his theory was, I've had like a head injury or something's happened.
Yeah.
And I've just totally blanked everything. Like I didn't know who I was, but I'm starting now to remember who I was again.
This is
radio bullshit calling.
We want our material back.
Yes, thank you very much. The police were originally they kind of were like, okay, who are you? But they had already started an investigation into Anne's movements. And,
Right.
it was it was a financial investigation, and they started to look at why her money was kept being sent to Panama.
As you would wonder.
Yeah, especially because she hadn't gone through this formal visa process yet.
Ugh, Anne.
So they had their
Everything should have been in Anne's name. What are they doing?
well, they had their suspicions already, let's say. But nevertheless, one of the sons was contacted and asked to come to the police station and confirm it was John, which they did. And I would imagine that's a slight shock when you think your father's been dead for 5 years.
You'd be a little surprised. Just probably 5 years is probably around about the amount of time where you're still obviously never going to get over the fact that your dad died a horrible death at sea in a canoe. But I'd imagine 5 years after that, you've kind of like stopped like thinking about it all the time. You're kind of like stronger from, like you're moving on. You know, the loss of a parent's probably the shittest thing ever.
BAM!
Dad's home!
Yeah, exactly. Of course, Anne is still in Panama at this point.
Oh, God.
So the son contacted Anne to say,
Dad's home!
but guess what? Dad's come home. And Anne did play the surprised wife rather well at first. Mm-hmm. You know, she was overwhelmed by the return of her husband who'd been lost at sea for 5 years.
Do you know what? I just don't think I'd be able to deliver a performance worthy of that being believed. Oh my God, John, you're home!
John, how I've missed you.
You look so different.
Except that lovely haircut that you have.
Did you die?
Obviously, at the time, this became a massive news story. And the press went a bit daft about the man who had returned. But it didn't take very long for the Daily Mirror to find a photograph of the two of them in Panama that had been found. It was the photo taken by the estate agent.
The thing with the photo, don't you dare give that tabloid the credit, because I'm pretty certain it was actually found by an internet sleuth kind of guy who was...
So the photo had actually been found by a member of the public who simply searched the words John, Anne, and Panama in Google. And the photo popped up on the site movetopanama.com. Which is not the same website anymore. And is
John, what are you doing?
My favourite thing is that website is now a website that tells you how to go through the process of taking your pet to Panama with you.
Amazing.
Because I looked it up a couple of different ways. I was like, this isn't right.
John
and Panama, how to take Rex abroad. And I'm like, no, this is... But it is,
you know what? Interesting. I wouldn't know how to take my pet to Panama. Peepers, we're moving.
Well, I can show you. I'll show you the website in a minute.
We have to link it. We have to put that up.
Yeah, we will do. Anne confirmed in an interview with the press that was them abroad. And she was quoted saying, "My sons will never forgive me." Because
wasn't this the thing, was like when it was rumbled and that came to light, and the news media, whatever you want to call it, frenzy that ensued was just insane. Like, she was hounded. She was hounded
absolutely, yeah.
in Panama by British tabloids that went abroad to go and get interviews. Like, she was hounded and hounded. And, like, they just wouldn't leave her alone because they were like, what have you done, Anne? Like, you were in on this the whole time. Like, think of your sons. Like, this is just ridiculous. And she was proper hounded. And then I think she eventually snapped or broke or whatever you want to call it. And she eventually gave in and did an interview with a tabloid. I can't remember which one. But I remember that she, like, eventually gave in, said, fine, I'll do this interview. I'll give it. And she just owned up to it. They were like, so... you and John, Panama? And she was like, yeah.
Like, that absolutely
hands
happened.
up, yeah, fucked it.
So I can skip my next paragraph. Mm-hmm. You've nailed that.
Sorry.
So no, she gave an interview to the press that basically said, yeah, this is, we faked it. We ran off to Panama. We thought we'd get away with it. And actually, do you know what? They probably would have done if it hadn't been for that photo.
Damn you, moved to Panama.
I mean, they were already being investigated for financial problems, but she could have passed that off as a grieving widow, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, you leave a photo on the internet, somebody's going to find it. So John was arrested and charged with obtaining life insurance money by deception and using fake identities to obtain a passport. Anne was arrested at Manchester Airport the minute she stepped off the plane back into the UK and charged with fraud. Both of them
For
appeared.
what, like, it was like, what was it, $250,000-ish in the end?
Yeah, it would have been about
Just
that.
ridiculous, isn't it?
So both of them appeared in court on the 10th and 11th of December, respectively, and they were both remanded in custody. In the January of 2008, they both appeared in the court again, facing other charges of deception. Basically, it was all linked around obtaining money by false pretense.
Yeah.
So on the 13th of March, John reappeared back in court and admitted 7 charges, most of them to do with obtaining cash by deception.
Fair.
And 1 or 2, I think, about obtaining a passport, a fake passport.
Right. Illegal documentation and stuff like
all that kind of stuff, fake identity and all that kind of stuff. He did deny some charges at the same time, but it didn't matter. Like they had him anyway. There was no denying what he'd done.
No, you're fucked.
So the July of that year saw them both actually sentenced, with John receiving 6 years and 3 months, and Anne, who's during the trial was labelled by the police a compulsive liar, was sentenced to 6 years and 6 months.
Ooh, just a month less.
No, she was given 3 months more.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said 6 years, 7 months.
No, he was given 6 years, 3 months.
Sorry.
And she was given 6 years, 6 months.
Right.
So, at first I was like, why was she given more?
Her deception was much worse, I feel.
So that's what my thoughts would be as well. His idea, but then did he actually then do anything?
You just hid in a bed sit.
Yeah, so he did obtain the money falsely because he faked his death. And he did obtain a fake passport. Mm-hmm. But she was complicit to all of that. She would have been the one that signed the paperwork.
Oh, she had to go and do loads of stuff. She would have had to have, she's the one that had to actually go and hand in the death certificate to get the money. And, she'll have been the one that was signing all the papers on the house sales.
Exactly
she would have had to do all of that.
Yeah, so...
Because he was dead, so he couldn't.
Well, indeed. He did apparently at one point sign a planning application. No, he signed a refusal for a planning application. Like I say, he really thought he was smart, but he wasn't. So yeah, she got longer because I guess it was because she had to do all the legalities of it. Yeah,
after it all.
So they both appealed against the convictions, but it was completely rejected. And they were also ordered to repay all of the money that was obtained by fraud. Plus interest and all that kind of stuff. So it was a total of over £500,000 that they had to. Kingsley Highland, who was the head of the Crown Prosecution Service at the time, said, It is important that fraudsters see that not only will we prosecute them wherever possible, but we will also make every effort to retrieve their ill-gotten gains, to return them to those that they have defrauded.
Nice.
So he was going completely down the moral line.
Yeah, justice.
The best thing about this, I reckon, is the fact that by July of 2015, the pair were both back exactly where they started. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were in jail, but they were back where they started because they were completely bankrupt.
Full circle.
Having sold the Panamanian property and used all their money to repay the amount the court had ordered them to repay, they were absolutely skint again.
Excellent.
Which
all of that for nothing, eh?
That's my favourite part of the story, is you go full circle back to, well, do you know what you just did with 5 years of your life? You fucked up.
Yeah, you fucked up.
Now, the sons, who were obviously had been over the moon at the return of their father.
At first, I imagine.
Because they were...
Dad's not dead.
They didn't know any of the interbits. Interbits? Yeah, let's go with that. They issued a statement to the press saying that they had felt they had been victims of a scam and implied they wished to have no further contact with their parents.
Absolutely fair.
John and Anne broke up, obviously. Yep. She wanted nothing to do with him. It was all his fault. This is where I haven't written any of this down because I didn't want to focus on her too much, because I actually feel I agree with the court. If the reasoning that they've given her more is that she did everything. She had so many outs.
Oh, yeah.
He had to stay in the house.
Oh, yeah.
Even though he went fishing and off to Kansas and stuff like that, she had so many opportunities to blow the whistle.
100%.
Pull the ripcord on this and go, I'm out. Which she didn't do.
She's the one that will have had to sit down across from her two sons and be like, Dad's dead. And, go to their bloody vigil or whatever it was that they did for him. And, I think that's like the worst. That must have like I can't imagine. I can't imagine my mum lying to me to that extent and watching me grieve and mourn for 5 years and just being like, just continuing to lie to my face.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's horrible. It's a horrible thing to do.
So they served their 6 years. They're both out.
Right.
6 years and a bit. She has been on several daytime TV shows.
Wrote a book.
Wrote a book, obviously, so she's not bankrupt anymore. And has said that this has devastated her life, blah, 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 blah. You did it, hen. I'm not interested. It has been covered in popular culture quite a few times.
Yep.
There have been, obviously, other podcasts about it, all of which I listen to. We'll put a link to other ones, actually. BBC4 did a really good documentary about it.
Nice.
Called The Canoe Man. So anybody that's in the UK, it'll occasionally pop up on iPlayer and things like that. I think it's split into bits on YouTube and stuff like that. You can watch it as well. I managed to find a version of it that I watched.
Nice.
It's ace. It's really well done.
I might give that a go, actually.
The folk that play John and Anne in it are very good.
Nice.
There's bits and pieces. There was a book written that wasn't directly, but was based on and all that kind of stuff. So there's loads and loads of stuff.
Oh, there's lots of material about this. This was massive.
Well, a massive story at the time. But I find that he obviously thought he'd nailed it.
Oh, yeah.
And had
like you got so ballsy about it. Let's go on holiday to Kansas. Let's go fishing.
Yeah.
Like, fuck you, man.
And to have the balls to walk back into the police station at the end and go, think I'm missing.
Yeah.
You know fine well he did it with a bit of swag as well because he thought he'd nailed it.
100%.
And then, no, you're going to jail, mate.
Good.
Yeah, good. And I'm glad they were made to repay every penny of it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But there you go. That was... I had to do a modern one at some point, and I thought if I'm going to do one, I'm going to do one that's just ridiculous.
Yeah, I love that. I think you did that really well. I think you covered that really well. Enjoyed that. I love that story.
If you remember the story in the news or anything, give us your opinions on it. I'm sure everybody that would listen to us will remember it.
Yeah.
And give us a shout. But for now, I'm going to go and refill my beer.
Yep. Let's do that.
You're going to go and refill your Diet Coke.
My wee Diet Coke and being well behaved. I'm on the early shifts this week. Boo. Just looking forward to that 3-day weekend, baby.
Yeah, okay, fine. See you in a minute.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Caprice, and I'm the host of the Unseen podcast. We look at missing person cases, unresolved crimes, and lesser-known stories from around the UK. We delve into cases that do not gain public attention, such as unidentified people and historic cold cases. If you're interested in true crime from the UK, then you might be interested in having a listen to The Unseen. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts.
And that's us back, everyone.
Hello.
And, Nadine has a fresh Diet Cola.
Yum.
And I have 2 beers. So, haha.
I am jealous. But sensibility will prevail.
Sure. Just you let me know when.
Well, you're getting a lift home tonight, so complain much?
No. Enjoy your Diet Cola.
Thanks. Right, shall we just hop in?
Please do, yeah.
Okay. So this week, again, a bit different from every other story I've done.
Nice.
So this week, I'm talking about a fella called Brendan McCarthy.
Okay.
No bells?
None.
So Brendan McCarthy used to run a place called Dr. Evil's Body Modification Emporium, which is in Princess Alley, Wolverhampton.
Like as in finger in the mouth, Dr. Evil, like Austin Powers.
No, I think like Dr. Evil, like bad.
Like, yeah, he's a bad man. Okay.
He's also a registered tattoo artist with the City of Wolverhampton Council. And he first appeared in court in 2017, charged with 6 counts of GBH without intent and wounding with intent, which he pled innocent to.
What's GBH without intent? Like you accidentally punched someone in the face?
You'll find out.
Okay.
So the 6 counts that he was charged with were attributed to 3 different procedures which Mr. McCarthy carried out at his shop in Wolverhampton. These 3 procedures were the splitting of a woman's tongue, the removal of a man's nipple. These both happened in July and August 2012. And the removal of a man's ear, which happened in July 2015. And these procedures were all carried out without anesthetic.
What is wrong? Right.
I knew you were going to have strong feelings about this story.
Yeah. So these Egypts, they get tattoos as well, innit?
Hey, now, hey, back off. So, Mr. McCarthy used the written consent of his clients as his defense, but this was rejected by the presiding judge, Amjad Nawaz, and this was based upon cases that had come before. And this is a case I'm going to mention that I think I'm going to come back to because it sounds too good not to.
Okay.
So this was one of his reasonings behind rejecting this appeal was that there was a case which was brought against a man who had consensually branded his wife's buttocks with a hot knife.
Would you like a side story at this point?
I would love one.
So I've... wow. So my old flatmate had to go to the doctors to get some painkillers and some antibiotics because he got branded at a party I was at.
What? With what?
A star-shaped cookie cutter that had been heated up on a gas stove.
I almost spat my Diet Coke out.
It was stinking.
Does he have like a scar?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
He's got a star brand on his arse.
Oh, that's amazing. Stinking as in actual stinking. Stinking of hot.
Like, it smelled like pork.
Hot.
It smelled like we'd cooked his bum. The best thing is, he did it. But he's going to kill me for saying this. Never mind.
You're not named and shamed.
Oh, no, there's only one person it could be. He did it, and then he went back and went, that's not deep enough, do it again.
No!
So they rebranded his brand.
Was it? But did they get it on point, or is it like a double brand?
Oh, no, it's a double star.
Oh, no.
We took that cookie cutter away from the party whose house we were at, because they obviously didn't want it in their house anymore.
I'm surprised by this.
When we looked at it again the next day, when we were slightly more sober, there was a bit of his bum cheek still stuck to the cookie cutter.
That's so fucking good.
I actually didn't throw it away that long ago. We had it for years.
Oh my god.
Anyway, sorry, just a wee side note there on branding.
I can't. Oh, next time I see him, I'm gonna have to ask to see it.
Oh, you definitely know. Yeah.
I know that I know him. I can't get him out to the quiz again. I can't wait to see this.
Yeah, it's there. His doctor nearly didn't give him any drugs because it was his own fault.
You made your bed, lie in it. Or rather, you branded your arse, deal with
Sit
it.
on it.
Sit on it! That must have hurt so badly for you.
It smelt so bad.
Oh god.
Sorry, I stole away from your story there.
No, you did not steal away. You added immensely to it. Well, Friday in a couple of weeks, my birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
I'm going to get silly and ask Kitty if she fancies a brand.
Why not?
Actually, no, I won't, because I've learned from Judge Amjad Nawaz that I'm going to get fucked up if I do.
Yeah, back on track.
Stop branding people. So, interestingly, the 3 customers who received these procedures they're not the people that have instigated these charges against Mr. McCarthy.
Right, okay.
So, by all accounts, the customers are happy with not only the way that their procedures were conducted, but also with the outcome. So it's like a third party that's brought these charges, and I didn't find out like who it is because it's not like released who it is. But it's like
I suppose it could be a doctor or anybody could bring them.
Could be anybody.
Yeah, if you've gone to see about your ear
could be
going
like
septic.
Well, it could be a local person that's just upset by that.
That's the one I have the most question about.
The
like
ear?
the tongue splitting and everything. I get that people like that's not common, but
yeah,
of that kind of body mutilation, that's one of the
modification, please, sweetheart.
Well, no, I think I was right. That's the kind of common one.
Yes.
Nipple's a bit odd.
So the nipple one, from what I read, was actually because the man had his nipple pierced a number of times and had like a lot of scar tissue, and it was actually causing him like a bit of uncomfortability.
Okay,
and
fair enough.
And he didn't like how it looked aesthetically, so he just decided to have it removed.
Okay, don't get it pierced in the first place, but okay.
Well,
But the ears, that's an odd one.
The ear's an odd one, and I couldn't find... Well, I don't know how hard I looked, actually, but I couldn't really find that much. Probably you can find something somewhere about why he did it, but there is now, like, in this day and age, the most amount of people that want to look how they want to look.
I'm not questioning it, I'm just saying that's the odd...
It is a bit of an oddball move.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you that.
Yeah, if you want one ear, crack on.
Go ahead. Yeah, this is the thing, he only got one removed.
Yeah, maybe that was the one he lent out the car with, so he wanted to be more streamlined.
I didn't know where you were going.
I don't know.
Maybe that's the one he sleeps on.
Yeah, maybe it's uncomfortable. No, it's not uncomfortable. It's your ear.
Anyway, by the way, I looked at many images of this ear removal, and I'm no doctor.
No, you're not.
But the stitching looked pretty, like, do you know, if you asked me to hack off your ear and then, like, stitch up where I hacked it off, I'd probably do a pretty shoddy job of it. This guy, not too shabby.
That's not the only reason I won't ask you to cut my ear off, but it is definitely one of them.
So, it wasn't them that have made these complaints anyway. So the Crown Prosecution Service said that it was a landmark case and stressed that McCarthy had no medical qualifications and was not a registered practitioner. And that's like the crux of this case.
I think that's fair enough. Yeah.
Is that it's not about should you be allowed to cut your own, like have your ear cut off or not, but it's about who's done it. That's what their issue is, really. So Rhiannon Jones, who is a senior prosecutor at the CPS, which is the Crown Prosecution Service, said, this prosecution was not brought to seek to curtail individual choice or freedom of self-expression, but because McCarthy, who is licensed to carry out tattooing and body piercing, was performing what were significant surgical procedures in a tattoo studio in Wolverhampton. This case confirms the existing law that surgical procedures must be carried out by properly trained, qualified and regulated surgeons or healthcare professionals. McCarthy was none of these, and as a result, his surgical procedures, albeit carried out at the request of his clients, were unlawful.
I think that's a fair statement.
It's quite fair.
If you want something removed,
doctor,
get somebody that's studied for long enough to do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, well, it's just that the correct qualifications.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
You can't decide the. Well, I mean, I presume you go through decent qualifications and stringent checks and everything for your hygiene and all that kind of stuff for tattooing and piercing and all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, you can get your ears pierced in Claire's Accessories. I'm not going to ask them to cut your nipples off.
No, no, you wouldn't.
No,
I got my ears pierced in Claire's Accessories.
Oh, did you?
And actually,
it's like where all the little girls go, isn't it? Like I just see them when we're walking past the thistle.
Yeah, 100%. There's in the window. Do you know what the funny thing is as well? Is that when I was younger and I got my ears pierced, I can't remember how old I was, but I was like one of the first girls in my year to get it done, and like I was the envy of all my peers. But I remember like I don't even think I really want. I don't think I'd ever expressed that I wanted my ears pierced, and we were just shopping one day, like me, mum, dad. I think my grandparents were there, and dad was like, "Hey, want your ears pierced?" And I was like, "Okay."
Did he get his done in Claire's Accessories at the same time?
No,
I wish he had.
I don't know. I just remember dad being like, "Do you want your ears pierced?" And I was like, "Sure." Like,
yeah, why not?
Fuck it. Went and got them done in Claire's Accessories, and I don't know if this is still true, but for those of you out there, I'm now better educated with piercings and stuff, and doing them safely and legally and etc. You shouldn't use they used a gun in my ears. And you shouldn't use a gun, like a piercing gun. And I'll tell you why. Because mostly the body casing is plastic, so that can't really be, like, sterilized fully. And also it's like a blunt forced trauma to your skin, which is really bad. Like, you're meant to go to a proper piercist who uses, like, proper needles and does it by hand.
Well, there you go.
If you're looking to get your ears pierced, please go somewhere proper. Thanks. Not that Claire's Accessories isn't proper. I don't know what their protocols are anymore, but back then, not so cool.
Back then, it was just a woman with a plastic spoon.
Real hurt as well. Really hot. Remember, it just like they did one, and I was like, no. And then, oh no, actually, they did them both at the same time. They did them both at like one person
they, like,
on each side.
attack you from either sides.
Yeah, so you can't back out of it. Yeah, they're just like, we'll do both at the same time. That way, if one, like, because if she feels the first one and it's too sore, she won't want the second.
But what happens if like you move and you get them off angle?
No, they put little dots on your ears with a pen.
Okay. I was thinking either that or some massive head clamp.
Tie her down.
Yeah, maybe not quite that far.
Oh my god.
Anyway,
back to it. Oh dear. So McCarthy took his case to appeals court, but was rejected because although the 3 judges, including the Lord Chief Justice of England and Wales, agreed that the ear removal had been performed well,
Okay.
told you, they decided that the wounding of another person could not be legally allowed to happen, air quotes, for no good reason.
Yeah, okay.
So, in his appeal, McCarthy cited the autonomy of his clients and justified the procedures using their consent as evidence. In their 12-page ruling, the 3 appeal judges state, "There is, to our minds, no proper analogy between body modification, which involves the removal of parts of the body, or mutilation, as seen in tongue splitting," fine, fair enough, Bob, I'll give you that,
Yeah.
"and tattooing, piercing, or other body adornment. What the defendant undertook for reward in this case was a series of medical procedures for no medical reason. The personal autonomy of his customers does not provide the appellant with a justification for removing body modification from the ambit of the law of assault."
I kind of get that. I know you and I will differ on these opinions entirely. But I do get the whole theory behind you can do whatever you want with your body, but you have to do it properly.
Yeah. Yes, so that's pretty much what they're saying. McCarthy was also refused permission to take his case to Supreme Court by the same 3 judges.
Fair, yeah.
So he changed his pleas to guilty last month, February of this year, 2019.
Okay.
He changed his pleas to guilty last month after a 2-year court battle, and he will be sentenced on the 21st of March, so the day before this comes out. So when this comes out, I'm going to do like a post about it and see what the outcome is.
Yeah, an update post. Yeah, that'd be cool.
So normally admitting to GBH would mean that you as the defendant would be held in custody until your sentencing, but McCarthy was let out on bail. He was told that this was not an indication of his sentencing, though, and his bail conditions included that he could not carry out any more body modification or surgical procedures, including the removal of body parts, whilst awaiting his court date.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think like they probably let him out because he's not like a danger to the public. It wasn't GBH in the classical sense of GBH.
Yeah, he wasn't...
It's just technically GBH.
He wasn't attacking people.
No, he's not attacked anybody.
No.
He's a fine person. So, a change.org petition titled "Support Professional Body Modification Specialist Mac," bracket, quotations, Dr. Evil McCarthy.
That name's not helping him there,
It's not helping the Dr. Evil thing. The thing is that it took me a couple of reads of different articles to figure out that it wasn't the tabloids branding him Dr. Evil, and that was just the name of his shop, Dr. Evil's Body Modification Emporium.
That sounds like something they would put.
Yeah, Dr. Evil ruining people's heads.
Yeah, exactly. Ruining people's heads.
You know.
Since 2018.
Actually, it was 2015 he cut off the ear.
No, ruining people's heads since 2015.
So that petition was started in 2017 when the case kind of like broke and like became kind of big news. And since then, the petition has been shared across social media and has particularly appealed to the piercing and tattoo community.
Yep.
People have shared it alongside statements in support of McCarthy, such as, "Share and support my good friend Mac Dr. Evil, charged over a consented body modification. This is bloody ridiculous. This is literally declining the client the right to do what they want with their body. Absolute disgrace from the so-called justice system."
Yeah, but that's not what they were doing, was it?
Yeah. Another statement reads, like with a share of the petition, "Genuinely one of the nicest guys I've met and any of you will ever meet. A true gent who, hopefully will piss this case and crack on with an industry-leading career."
Still not a doctor.
Still not a doctor, no. So, as of, it was, I think the last time I looked was on the weekend, so 3 days ago.
Yep.
As of 3 days ago, I was looking, Sunday evening I looked at it before I left for the quiz.
Which is 2 weeks ago if you're listening to this now.
Yes, correct. The petition had amassed 15,765 signatures.
That's a lot.
And as I sat there on the petition looking at it, it was climbing still.
Yeah.
People are still like hot about this and still supporting it.
We'd be happy with those download numbers.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Especially I think because because last month he changed his plea and it's the sentencing this month, it's kind of come back into focus again. And that's how I found it. Like I just saw it in the news because they were like, "Oh, he's changed his pleas to guilty," and I was like, "Oh, what is this?" You know. So the petition statement, like you know how like these petitions always have like a big statement. It opens with, Whether body modification is something you have strong feelings about or not, this case touches upon the issue of supporting professionals, consent, people's right to feel comfortable and happy in their own bodies, and discrimination. So that's like the opening.
Yeah.
The petition goes on to highlight arguments for McCarthy, such as the rise in popularity of body modification within the UK, the use of body modification across the world for thousands of years. So, like, if you look at like tribes and stuff, and like
the
big discs, like that's like the
that
most
kind of
famous
stuff, yeah.
one, like stuff like
or
that.
Even the neck stretching.
Yeah, 100%. So that stuff, that's like body modification. So like, fine. The danger of sending the practice underground. So if people like Mr. McCarthy aren't allowed to do it, and people still want it done,
it's that same argument over, do you legalize drugs?
Exactly.
Because you take them
because
out of the
then you
darkness
can, and
It's
then
that
you can
same kind of
regulate
argument.
them.
Yeah, exactly. So if you did this with...
So if you allow piercers to move into the realms of body modification, you could regulate that.
Yeah, exactly. And as simple as you can then make sure that they follow a code of conduct.
Have some form of qualification or training or something. Yeah. They also talk about McCarthy as a moral and caring professional who offers reconstructive procedures and as such has helped people from the military and emergency service backgrounds in his line of work. They also highlight the fact that allowing body modification artists to carry out these procedures takes the burden off of the NHS. So if people don't turn to underground sources to do it, then they'll turn to the NHS and ask for these kind of things on the NHS.
I think that's a strong argument if it's properly regulated.
Yes, agreed.
If you leave it as it is and he's just doing it, you're adding the possibility that you're then going to put extra strain on the NHS.
Yeah, because if somebody, I think, like,
gets
in
it wrong and you get an
my
infection
personal opinion, Brendan McCarthy knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He's done these procedures successfully. The clients are happy, the customers are healthy.
Your average tattoo
But somebody else might cut off your ear and fuck your life
so
up.
So Dr. Evil can do it because he seems competent, so he'd pass your competency tests or your exams or whatever you'd need to do, so he'd be fine. But Joe Bloggs down the road that's got a tattoo gun doesn't mean he can do it.
Exactly. They also discuss McCarthy's achievements, like his personal achievements as well, saying that every year he organises a tattoo convention in Wolverhampton, at which he runs a charity raffle, where he normally raises thousands of pounds for local charities, such as Wolverhampton Homeless Outreach and The Haven, which is a charity and shelter for women and children who are victims of domestic violence. So he's like a proper good guy.
I was going to say, he's like the anti-bad bastard then.
Yeah,
I think that's the first one
he's
we've
a really
had,
nice guy. The petition ends with, "Please sign to show your support for Mac and for the right to express ourselves in whatever modified manner we wish in a safe environment. Because Barbie and Ken aren't everyone's idea of beautiful." And I think, like, that's what I agree with the most here, is, like, people are upset.
You were going to say that, yeah.
People are upset with, like, this story a lot because they don't understand why you want your ear cut off. And to be honest with you, I don't know why you want your ear cut off. But I don't think that matters. Like, I don't
understand why you want your ear cut off. And now you and I differ slightly on, maybe not even our opinions on tattoos. I have none.
I have quite a few.
Almost a painted lady. But I see why I understand why people get them.
Yeah.
And I understand the body modifying and the piercing of the tongues and the noses and even the skin kind of rows and all that kind of stuff. There's a line, though.
Okay.
To me, anyway.
Fair. That's your opinion.
That you go, have you cut your ear off to go look at me?
Maybe you have.
But that doesn't make it wrong.
No.
But if you're going to do it safely.
No, agreed. And, like, this is the thing, is that, like, the prosecution, like, the Crown Prosecution Service are using this case as, like,
a benchmark.
And, like, to set a precedent that you can't just go cutting off ears and nipples and splitting tongues if you aren't a medical professional, because that's a medical procedure. And I can understand that. And then, like, on the flip side, though, I see his side of it, because these were consenting people that knew the risks, knew what they were getting into, knew that he's not a doctor, knew that there's not going to be an anesthetic, and they had no qualms with it and still don't. And it's like, it's just this, like, big mess of different things, because I agree with every side.
Yeah, I can't argue against you there, but I think even though you consent to something doesn't mean that it's okay to have it done.
No, and that's fair. And, like, I think
I consent to you killing me still makes you liable.
Yes.
I know
that's extreme.
That is
yes.
the extreme, but if you're going to pick on
Yeah.
consent was given, you know, that's, you need to draw the line at some point to...
And also, like, you could fudge consent, but...
Yeah. And even, and like you say, these people aren't complaining, and they are still alive, and obviously... So
they're all fine and healthy.
But you have to draw a line to say, just because you consented doesn't mean that he can do it.
Yeah, that's fair as well. But then, like, me and my flatmate Kitty, who I've talked about a couple of times, I was, like, telling her about this and talking. I was like, what do you think? Like, what's your opinion here? And she was like, it's a bit mental to cut an ear off a human. But she was like, if I came home to Kitty, and I was like, Kitty, my dear friend, please hack off my ear. Please just hack off my ear. That's what I desperately want. I'm gonna sign this thing saying that I consent. I'm gonna film a video of myself saying I, in sound mind and body, consent to you hacking off my ear. Please do so. If she hacks off my ear and she's happy with it and I'm happy with it, whose business is that? Do you know? But I think it comes into difficulty because then he's getting reward from it and it's like a business thing.
He's getting paid for it, and. No, I still don't. I don't.
Do you not agree with that?
No, I don't.
I think it's like my business if I want my ear hacked off.
I do. I see what you're saying, but at some point, you've got to think. There's a reason why not everyone can do that. You have to draw.
Yeah, fair. No, you know, like, yeah, and I totally. Agree with that.
You're making it as much of an extreme as I was. But.
Yeah, and like this is the thing is like I think that instead of it, in an ideal world for me. Instead of him being sentenced to GBH and wounding with and without intent for whichever one, like, instead of him being sentenced for it and, like, perhaps going to prison, like, at the end of the day, that's 6 counts of GBH without intent and wounding with intent. So I think it's 3 for each. I think it's 3 GBH, 3 wounding, because it's 3 procedures, 3 people. I think it's, like, 1 of each for each of them. So, like, that's going to carry a prison sentence, or it's at least going to have a huge effect on his life. Yeah, it's going to have a big weight on his life.
Should or shouldn't it is a completely different argument.
Yeah, and like in my opinion, in an ideal world, I don't think he should have to suffer for what he's done. I think instead it should be a window of opportunity to look at that and go, right, this is a thing that's on the rise in Britain. People are asking for it. People are wanting it. Instead of making it illegal and being like, no, definitely not, and possibly, and well, not even possibly, definitely sending it underground, they should then like look at it and go, maybe we need to like look at how we can regulate this and make it a safer environment for people to do these things to themselves.
Well, I look
in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. And I look forward to the update when the sentencing happens and see what the follow-up of it is. Yeah. That's the interesting point. However, I will say we should stop here because we could go on for hours.
I know.
Thank you, everybody, very much for listening, as always. We have a couple of reasonably large announcements this evening.
A little bit. Not only am I 25 now.
Not only are you 25 now. God, don't even bother. We'll do our normal social medias at the end here. But Twisted Britain, we started as an experiment almost.
Yeah, we did.
We never ever expected anybody to listen to this at all.
No, and this is episode 20.
And this is episode 20. And plus our specials.
Plus our specials that we're not counting as numbered.
We're not counting as numbered, but there's 23 episodes out there in the ether, existing somewhere. We want to keep doing this for as long as we can put up with each other's company, basically, I think is what it is. There are a load of twisted stories that we would love to tell you guys about, whether you've heard them or not. Whether you want to hear our opinion on or not is another matter. For us to keep doing that, we have launched a Patreon page. It sadly does cost us money to provide this podcast, and we want to be able to continue to provide it to you for free.
Yeah.
However, we're giving an option for anybody out there that wishes to make a contribution. Now, both of us feel very, very uneasy asking you to do this.
This is not in our realm of comfort and very un-British.
Yes, and it's not sat very well with us. So we've set up a Patreon page that you can find if you go into any of our social media channels or our website. You can find it there. We'll put a couple of links up.
Yeah, it'll be in our about sections and stuff like that.
We have some pretty wicked tiers in there that you can do everything from just a shout out in the show right through to... We're going to release a Patreon-only episode once a month, which means we need to pull our fingers out and do more. That's fine. We're also just launched online merch shop.
Yes, we have.
So if you would like a Twisted Britain t-shirt or a Twisted Britain mug,
Or a hoodie or a hat.
you can find them there also with links on our social media sites
Yep.
and our website.
Again, it'll be in like our about sections and places like that. We're still trying to work out how to like make a very accessible link on our social media, especially Facebook, to the Patreon, to the shop and stuff like that. We're working on it. It'll be 2 weeks
They
since
will
we've
be
recorded
there by
this,
the
so
time we've launched this.
hopefully.
I'll make sure they're there by the
okay,
time we've
Bob's
launched
on it. So if it's not our about section, there should be an easy link. If there's not an easy link, it should be in the about section. You'll find it.
The extra piece of sweetness is if you decide to take one of our higher tiers in Patreon, you get access to Patreon only merch site. You save
A couple of quid here and there.
few
squids.
You save some money on it. We're offering you guys the merchandise at cost price.
Yeah.
If you sign up to Patreon, I can't remember what the level is off the top of my head. I think it's, but if you feel within your hearts to contribute,
Here's a sheep listen to Bob like sheepishly
don't
stumbling through this.
I really don't like doing it. That's
I
why
hate it too.
If you feel like you could contribute to us, it would absolutely allow us to do this forever.
And we'd appreciate it so much, and from like sincerely the bottom of our hearts, thank you if you do.
I'll guarantee you, it's not for our drinks bill. We'll pay for them.
Yeah, we cover our own tabs, or sometimes Bob covers it because he's a sweetheart.
Usually, but yeah, we're looking to try and do it so we can cover our costs of hosting the podcast.
Yeah.
And because we wanted sweet hoodies, so we're going to buy some ourselves.
Fuck
We'll send you pictures of them. We'll put up pictures when we've got them. We'll get back on track now.
Let's do it.
So if you have liked what you've listened to and you'd like to follow us on social medias, you can find us on Facebook.
Twisted Britain.
You can find us on Twitter.
Twisted Britain.
And you can find us on Instagram.
Twisted Britain.
We also have a lovely discussion group on Facebook, which is called
Twisted Britain Discussion Group.
And we've had a lot of new people join recently.
We have
some superstars in there that can, as soon as we post, know exactly
Anna
what we're
Louise,
talking about.
get out.
Yeah, Anna, we're looking at you. Thank you for being part of our discussion group. We love you. I think that's all.
I think that's all we've got to say. Happy birthday to me.
Oh yeah,
At this point, when people are listening,
it now,
I'm going to be probably at least either day drunk, night drunk, just getting drunk.
At some point, if you listen to this on Friday, 22nd of March, when it comes out, if you post on one of our social medias when you've listened, I will reply to you with a picture of Nadine at that point and show you how drunk she is.
Yes, excellent. And if you're not with me, I will happily I'll get somebody to document the drunkenness.
I'll make sure that one of you at least gets a picture of her lying on the ground under a table at some point.
Yay! Drink responsibly.
Nah. It says us sat in the pub every week doing this. Thanks very much for listening, everybody.
We love you. Bye.
Bye-bye.